Welcome to part 2 of our podcast series with Stylight about content marketing. Last time we did discuss what content marketing is, first of all, and the fact that content marketing is essential nowadays for all companies to be involved with. Today we will be talking more about some of the past campaigns that Sean and Aurora have had experiences with and what they've learned from them. And I'm hoping that we're going to gain a lot of new knowledge about, certain do's and don'ts of content marketing. So would you like to share with us some past campaigns that you've done at Stylight with content marketing?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I hope we can give you guys an insight into some of the things that have worked and that haven't worked for us, and hopefully that will really help you with sort of content marketing that you try to work on in the future. Probably the campaign we are most famous, if you like, for is our Minionistas, which we released last summer. So this was when the Minions were just, it was kind of, they were everywhere. It was the new Minions movie was out, and they were everywhere. And we had pitched a few months back saying sort of like, should we do something about the Minions? And then we were all kind of like, how could we make that fashiony? How could we make that into a campaign that Stylight would work on? And so kind of put it on the bench, left it for a while. And then we saw the Minions do a collection with Selfridges. And we were like, oh, maybe there is something there. And then we started brainstorming and we came up with this idea to kind of make fashion icons into Minions effectively. And we dubbed them our Minionistas. And we featured sort of the likes of Anna Wintour, Karl Lagerfeld, really, really iconic people. And produced a campaign around it. And definitely this was our campaign that broke the internet for us, if you will. So we got over 700 links globally, 60% of which linked back to a Stylight domain, which is, for us, quite phenomenal. We had 47 million social impressions. We were featured in 11 issues of Elle around the world and 54 countries in total. So it blew our minds, And I think that this campaign for us really tells the power of content marketing. This was a campaign we turned around in a few days with no budget set to it, and it just went crazy.
That's amazing.
On social, we were just like, what is going on? We almost couldn't cope with the volume of interest in it. And so this then resulted in obviously a ton of traffic to us. So it was 400% more landing, people coming to the page than usual, which was insane. And then I think what we mentioned last episode was a lot about how to engage with your audience and how to react to what they're saying. And I think we used that really to our advantage with the Minions, because what we did was we saw a lot of people were asking for Victoria Beckham. They were asking for other designers. So we were like, okay, let's do round 2. So we did pull a few all-nighters the next week, produced a round 2 set. And it was Victoria Beckham who shared it herself that really resulted in us getting a ton more coverage. So from that, we were in stuff like Paper Magazine, got a third Daily Mail article, and it just went nuts. So then we started to produce blogger Minions and sent them to the bloggers. And we even produced a few for some of our favorite journalists like Pandora Sykes, and we got some nice coverage from them for that. So yeah, this was probably our biggest campaign, and one of the ones that it just came from such a small, fun idea that it really shows you don't have to have a ton of kind of money and tons of resource put into things to have a really amazing outcome.
And I'd say for me, sort of the other campaign that kind of was quite memorable, even since my time at Stylight, has been the Fashionmon campaign. So that was based on the kind of Pokemon Go hype that happened over the summer. And it was something that we saw quite early on. So we could see kind of from the game launching in other countries other than the UK, there was kind of this hype building around it over the summer. So we thought, okay, right, what can we kind of do? How can we kind of make a campaign that is still really interesting, is still fashion focused, and is still kind of our DNA, taking on kind of what Shana said from the Minions. So we created iconic fashion people again as Pokemon. So we created, say, Anna Wintour as Charmander and Karl Lagerfeld as Ninetales, and it was again just a really funny idea.
At first I was like, this is maybe too weird.
It came across quite strange, really. So, but again, like the kind of momentum that we had with that was by being shared by a celebrity. So, kind of the pickup for the campaign was quite organic at first. So we did get some really good links, but it was kind of more organic in terms of PR. And then it was shared by Victoria Beckham, and kind of overnight it just went bonkers. So from that we obtained sort of over 100 plus links in the UK alone, kind of including Glamour, Refinery, 29, Sheerlux, and it was even featured on This Morning as well in their kind of showbiz section, saying like Vicky B tweeted it and stuff. So yeah, it was, so for me that was really great. Probably another campaign that we did, which was quite like, again, really sort of quick in terms of timing and resources and stuff, and we got that out at exactly the right time, was our Find the Queen campaign. So it was a local UK campaign and kind of a parody on the Find the Panda campaign, which kind of went viral. So we did that for the Queen's 2 birthdays. So we launched it for her first birthday and her second birthday. Not all of us are lucky enough to have 2 birthdays, but
she has 2.
She has 2, and it worked in our favour, really. So it was just a really simple graphic of her lost within her corgis, and you had to find the Queen's face within her corgis.
Wow.
So for us, it was just something that was really simple, but got really, really amazing press. So Shortlist, Design Taxi, Mail Online, to name a few. So that was really good. So that kind of built up momentum, really.
Yeah. And I think also we've sort of tried to do other stuff, and I think one of the key sort of pieces of advice I'd give is to not always focus on the domain that you're in. So we had a really successful campaign with the Apple Watch and the Apple AirPods. So last year when the Apple Watch came out, the gold one was on sale for I think 17 grand. So we produced a really good campaign of all the things you could buy for the same price. And although that's definitely a tech kind of thing, I tried to make it more fashiony. So I included loads of like zeitgeisty products. So I don't know, like fashiony dogs and like Chanel surfboards and silly things that people were talking about at the time. And just worked out, literally did the maths of what else you could buy for the same price. And that did really well. And then we went on to adapt that content when Apple just did the AirPods. So the new iPhone with no headphone jack, which is annoying. And then they did those kind of silly, sorry, Apple looking headphones. So we just thought, guys, you look at those and you've lost them. So we did all the things you could lose for the same price, because they're 150 quid and you're probably going to lose them in like a day if you're me. So I just did like things that people commonly lose and how many of them you could lose. So that's a way of like just showing you, if you have one idea, like great content should be evergreen and you should be able to rework it for things, or, you know, if Apple release another Apple Watch, push that again, you know. And then probably the last campaign we sort of wanted to talk about was one that we did at Christmas last year, which was Style Against Humanity. Which was a bit different for us. I really wanted to do a kind of form of content marketing that wasn't necessarily online. So for Christmas, what I did was a kind of parody of Cards Against Humanity. So everybody loves that game, and a lot of people play it at Christmas when everyone's playing games. So I thought, why not make a fashion version? Because, you know, it's the bitchiest thing in the world. So I just included a lot of like silly fashion quotes. With like fashion icons, and actually made it into a deck of cards. So we got them printed, we sent them to journalists and bloggers, and we actually found that then related to online coverage, because people were snapping their results, people were Instagramming pictures of them playing at Christmas, got a lot of good social coverage, and even some articles online of people just like photographing the cards all laid out. People found it really funny. So that's kind of another way of looking at content marketing, that's something that you can do offline as well as online.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's nice to hear about all of these successful campaigns that you've had at Stylight. But have you maybe learned some things from these campaigns where you thought, okay, that we could have done differently? Were there any things that you feel that you could have improved on, or just looking back?
Oh, definitely. I mean, these are definitely like our hero campaigns. And for as much stuff that's worked, like you're always going to have times when stuff doesn't work. And there's been a fair amount of campaigns where we're like, this is a winner, and then it just flops. So, I mean, I think stuff that works is, I'd say timing is like essential. So I would advise trying to release something when people are talking about it, but not when the hype is so huge that you're just going to get lost in it. So kind of between just when something's launched that it's not so unknown and niche, but not before it's got too big, which can be hard. As long as you release things at the perfect timing, it can really work. Fridays, we always think Fridays work really well for us to sort of release things. I don't know if people are just in a good mood on a Friday and like to share stuff more. Funny things, generally, I mean, that's kind of our USP, and I just think people respond to funny things better. And we try to have some kind of information in there so that it gives the user, they can learn something from it, but always try and keep that information super lighthearted and fun. And then, I sort of thought bright colours as well. So anything bold, eye-catching. We generally find if we use paler colours, stuff that's less vibrant, it just doesn't, people don't respond to it as well. So
yeah, from the design point of view, I think what kind of your primary colours seem to work really, really well. Sort of yellows and reds and blues and greens seem to really kind of
catch people's attention
instantly. Whereas I think if we use more pastel colours, it's something as simple as that, which I think is so important when you're sending out your content. Something as little as the design aspect can completely like change how a person, especially a journalist or whether you're outreaching into your audience, perceives it and kind of takes in that information and the kind of theme that you're trying to get across with your content. Kind of another thing that we've found that doesn't really work is anything kind of too overcomplicated. So just make it as easy and as kind of transparent information as you can. Obviously get your message across, and sometimes with content, if you're trying to get across kind of a complex theme or issue surrounding what you're trying to get across, then obviously do it in as a layman's terms as you can. So try and make it as little complicated for both the journalists, because at the end of the day, these people receive hundreds of emails a day, and so they don't really have a lot of time. So try to make it as simple.
I think like a really good tip is showing it to someone maybe in your office or a friend that has never seen it before. See whether they can identify it. Because once I remember I released a campaign, showed it to a friend who didn't know, it took her a while, I had to explain it, and it flopped. And it's probably because, I mean, I should have just listened to what she said. So I think that's a really good tip.
And 100% like ensuring that consistency is key. So as we've said, we've kind of got our sort of brand DNA with our content, and I think it's very important for companies to do that, but literally just don't copy and repeat. Still have a kind of consistency within your content, but make it different every single time so that it still keeps people engaged. Definitely.
You've had really fun campaigns in the past. You've had the Minions as a theme. You've had Pokemon as a theme. So how do you go about finding these inspiration themes that you do use for campaigns?
Oh God, it's from literally like everywhere. I'm one of these complete nerds, and I'm literally always on my phone, always looking at random blogs, stupid Instagrams, like it can be from anywhere. I mean, I use Tumblr a lot. I still really like Tumblr, and I think that's where a lot of like all the good like meme creators are on Tumblr, and it's such a young generation on there that often I find like the first kind of silly kernel of an idea on there. I love stuff like Design Taxi. I think they have really good infographics and a good mix of like informative pieces and funny pieces. You can often get ideas. Stuff like literally the news. I love stuff. I thought like Jimmy Fallon, which sounds weird, but his segments in his TV show are really clever. And then social platforms, so like Instagram and Snapchat.
Yeah, 100%. I think for me as well, it's important to kind of look at both social media, but then also for me to see what journalists are writing about. As a PR, I think if I send out something that obviously it's great that no one's writing about it, because then I'm kind of the first person to kind of approach these people and say, look, we're writing about this. But it's still important to kind of see what is happening in the wider scope of publications and the news. So for me, social platforms and news pages really.
And what would you say are current sort of popular themes in content marketing? What are some things that you see that a lot of people are doing and that are successful?
I think at the moment, a lot of companies are really utilising kind of technology, music, art, really kind of popular culture at the moment. So not just focusing on one particular thing. And I think that's something that we do really well, is that although we are a fashion website and a platform, I think it's quite important to cover all bases really within popular culture. And I think that's something that a lot of brands or companies that are doing content marketing really, really well are utilising every area of popular culture really. Probably another aspect I'd probably say that is really popular at the moment is celebrity, because I think today's culture, whether you're 15 or 50, you're still kind of celebrity obsessed. I think it's just the day and age that we live in now. So having the involvement of a celebrity, whether it be a partnership or a kind of influencer, being involved within your campaign, or whether you just use the kind of idea like we've done before with the Minions and the Pokemon, kind of the idea of having a celebrity within your campaign, like, just works every time.
Yeah, works wonders.
It works wonders. It just boosts and pushes it to the masses, really. I think for me as well, a lot of companies that are doing it really, really well are using video content. So what with Snapchat being so huge at the moment and kind of Instagram launching Instagram stories, a lot of content is video. It's not just purely written or visual or infographics.
Mm-hmm.
It is video, and I think it's such an easy platform and way of delivering information quickly to an audience. And I think finally just kind of user generated content. So really kind of ensuring the audience is involved. I think, yeah, they're definitely kind of the popular things at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I think that pretty much, sums it up. And this question that we also talked about in the last episode about engaging your audience and also using the user in your content campaigns and getting feedback, I think it's very important that we're also rounding off this episode with that same thing,
Yeah, definitely.
It all ends with your actual audience and who is watching the content or reading the content or whatever that may be.
Don't forget you have an audience. That's why you don't do it for anyone else, you do it for your audience. I think that's great to remember that.
So in the next episode of the Content Marketing Podcast series, we'll be talking more about what people are doing wrong in content marketing, and we will also talk more about the future of content marketing. So please tune in next week, and thank you, Aurora and Sean, for today.
Pleasure.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, guys.